Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing week 1 of my 2022 reads. This week I got a really good start to 2022 by reading quite a few new releases that I've been meaning to get to. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. The first book I finished was The Last Cuentista by Donna, Barba, Higuera. I'd been really looking forward to this because I'd really enjoyed her previous middle grade contemporary, Lupe, Wong Won't Dance. So this is a middle grade sci-fi, which you don't see too much of, but I really enjoyed. So this takes place not too far in the future when there is going to be an asteroid that is hitting Earth. And basically there are some spaceships that very few select people are going to be able to get on and leave and go colonize some other planets that they found that seem habitable. But everybody else on Earth is not going to be able to make it. And the main character of this story is a teenager. She's 12, 13 years old, and her parents are scientists. And so she and her younger brother get to go along with them on one of these spaceships, one of the very few humans to make it off the planet. But while they're on this very long journey in cryogenic sleep, some things go wrong. And almost everybody no longer has any memories of the past, and she's one of the very few people who does. She's always wanted to be a storyteller, and she finds power through telling a lot of the stories that her grandmother told her, but also a lot of things and injecting herself into them. So this book is really interesting because it's a little bit of a sci-fi thriller because some bad things happen here. There's definitely some people who are not so great as well. And there's quite a lot that goes wrong in this. For a middle grade, I was actually rather surprised at the amount of bad things that happen, and truly some very devastating losses as well. The way that this interweaves all of these myths and stories into this sci-fi narrative is also fantastic. The focus on these themes of what is our history and what does that mean to us, and what do stories mean to us, and what are our goals for humanity, and sort of how do we reach those. So lots of really good themes in this, really interesting kind of plot that goes through it. I thought that this was such a fascinating and good middle grade. I did think though that at times some of the stuff was a little bit unbelievable, you know, with middle school kids being able to do things that are perhaps a little bit above their level, although some of that is, you know, explained in terms of what happens in the cryogenic sleep, that sort of thing. And I think that, you know, just at times things didn't unfold quite as smoothly as I would have liked, but overall I thought this was a really, really solid middle grade sci-fi. So if you're looking for that, I recommend this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Dreaming of You by Melissa Lozada-Oliva. So I had previously read Lozada-Oliva's poetry collection, Peluda, which I absolutely loved, and I believe I have a review for it, so I will link that below. And this is a novel in verse that she has come out with, and it is the most surreal thing. I actually ended up absolutely loving this, but I'm not sure how many other people would because it's a very strange book. So it is a novel in verse, but it is very abstract, very surreal. It doesn't kind of follow the narration style that I think most of us are used to if we read novels in verse, and instead is a little bit more disjointed, a little bit more feelings based rather than plot based, but it is just so fantastic. So the loose storyline of this is that there is a woman who decides that she is going to resurrect Selena, the Tejana pop star. And so she does so, and this unfolds kind of what happens after Selena is resurrected. This focuses on so many interesting themes of identity and of love and obsession, of celebrity, of just sort of the way we treat women, all sorts of things. Really cool theming in this. And most of all, and this is I think what draws me to Lozada-Oliva's work, is that I just love the way that she does poetry. I love the way that she plays with words. There's so much about this that made me laugh, even though it's actually kind of a horror novel, which is not usually my thing. It even has a little bit of body horror, which again, usually isn't my thing, but I could not get enough of this book. It was just such a page turner for me because everything that she was saying, I just loved the wording and the play with words and the emotion and the feeling and just the beauty of all of it. So if you like very experimental poetry, very strange things, then I say give this a try. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna buy myself a copy of this and reread it because I just loved it so much. But again, it is very strange, so I'm not sure that it'll work for everybody. Then I read Noor by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a dystopian science fiction that takes place in the not too far future where climate change has gotten even worse. We're in Nigeria where there are quite a lot of sandstorms that are taking over huge swaths of the country. And we follow a woman who is very much looked down upon by society because she has a lot of prosthetics and augments to her body because she was born with quite a few birth defects and also has been in some accidents that mean that just her body doesn't work on its own and she needs a lot of kind of artificial help, and that's seen as just very unnatural. And she ends up kind of getting forced out of her town and having to go to this desert, and ends up connecting with somebody who is a kind of traditional herdsman, a nomad, and they have to figure out how to deal with some of the basically mobs that are after them. So this book has, just like all of Nnedi Okorafor's works, a lot of really, really cool sci-fi. She does sci-fi so well. I love the way that she's just so imaginative in the way that it kind of plays out, but also there's a lot of deeper meanings and themes behind a lot of what she's doing. So this book is extremely anti-capitalist, anti-colonialist. It's really tackling a lot of the issues of the exploitation of different people. Also a lot of just issues of ableism and mob violence and things like that. So there's quite a bit of violence in this, quite a bit of really bad things that happen to people. It's also quite fast-paced. So Nnedi Okorafor has some different styles of writing, and some of the writing that she does is more fast-paced. This one was a little bit too fast-paced for me. It just really jumped from scene to scene to scene and not always fully making sense the way that the plot progressed. But I did think that the sci-fi and the themes were really cool in this, so I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, I read You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is a contemporary YA about a high school student who is about to graduate, and she has an acceptance to her dream college, except that one of the scholarships that she had applied for ended up falling through, and she now has a gap in funding that she needs to fix. So she decides to run for prom queen because at her school, prom is a big deal and that is associated with a scholarship. Even though she is a terribly shy person, she decides that she's got to do this because she doesn't have any other source of funding. So she goes ahead and does this. It's all about her doing all of these prom activities, which include a lot of volunteering, and trying to get herself up in the rankings so that she can win prom queen. This is a book that tackles a lot of different issues, just a lot of things about her being Black in a primarily white town, about her being queer in a very kind of conservative town where that's maybe not the thing that's okay for somebody who wants to be prom queen. It's also about her friendships. So she has quite a few friends where there's some rockiness to it. So some friends who maybe aren't being the best friends that they could be, and that's causing some issues, or some old friends that really did some bad things and that she has to reconnect with and learn how to work with them and forgive them, these sorts of things. And there is a love story in this. So this is very much a contemporary romance in that she falls in love with another girl who is running for prom queen, and they form a bond over especially things like shared love of music. So this book is super sweet. It has, like, you know, kind of that Disney rom-com feel to it. It does get a little bit angsty and dramatic at times, but I think that that is really common in a lot of YA just because of those heightened emotions. But even so, it was just such a sweet read, and I totally see why everybody recommends this book. If you're looking for something that is fun but also tackles some interesting social issues, this is a great book to pick up. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so that's everything that I read this week. If you guys have read any of these, if you have any thoughts, anything you want to chat with me about, just leave me a comment down below.